Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and Iron Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Rovi, and MScribe, and today we're finally talking about the best token ever generated in the history of cryptocurrency, NAT.
Not Bitcoin.
Not Bitcoin.
NAT Bitcoin, dude. I can't believe you fumbled so hard. You didn't wear your shirt today.
Oh,
dude.
I didn't. You're right.
You're wearing the.
Well, I'm wearing the source material. You're wearing the actual value.
Source. Yeah, so we're gonna contextualize what you just said right there.
I was like,
see your shirt, I mean.
Yeah,
see it again.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, it says UNAT ready.
There it is.
So I'm sure you're wondering, it's like, what does this have to do with AI, guys?
Yeah, obviously we're just plugging merch here. Merch that doesn't exist yet, but at some point will. At some point, you guys will be able to have your own UNAT ready.
Correct.
Merch.
We also need to make a shirt with all the characters, the UNAT characters, like the one that you have. That one's great.
And this is a great shirt. And we're going to have many great shirts, right? I feel like I'm Trump right now, dude.
They're going to be the greatest shirts.
They're going to be the greatest shirts. You've never seen a better shirt.
Yeah.
So, or a better token, right? But we're going to explain. So I know a lot of you guys are new to this channel because of the recent surge of AI.
Yeah.
And welcome to all you newbies. You know, glad you're here. Glad you're paying attention, but
news alert.
There's a lot of things you guys missed.
Correct.
In our channel's existence, and you know, AI is a big fucking deal, obviously, but another big deal in the making is the Bitcoin ecosystem actually manifesting during this cycle, right? So it's like, you know, typically whenever crypto cycles happen, there's multiple vectors of interesting events, right? Like last cycle, there was DeFi, there was like a metaverse emergence, there was a GameFi meta emergence, NFTs, a lot of things, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of sectors in a cycle.
Yeah, a lot of vibrant, like, holy shit, new things are happening moments. So, you know, this cycle so far, we've got memes, right? AI.
Ordinals.
Well, yeah, I would argue Ordinals in the Bitcoin ecosystem is like the hidden, undiscovered gem for the entire market, right? Even though we were there, it's the equivalent of like being there during like AI's hidden uprising over the last couple of years, right? Like if you're paying attention to Potensor 2 years ago, you got in at the ground floor price valuation. You've been mining for the last 3 years,
right? And
you have a handsome pile of Tau, right? So Bitcoin ecosystem was developing right there along with it, and something else called DMT. So,
correct. Yeah.
So let's get into what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah. All right. So we are looking at a vote here. So we'll explain kind of like the context of the vote here in a second towards the end. But there's a vote. They're saying, what feature should we develop first? Both features will be implemented in this vote determines the order of development. So we have here DMT NAT, which is the focus of this video. So DMT NAT rewards for Bitcoin miners and the gimmining. And so clearly NAT is dominating 2-1, right?
Yeah, so this is like an ecosystem vote, essentially. So if you don't understand what Trac is, we're going to go into it in here in a second. But it is the validator network that kind of underpins what it is we're about to talk about, this whole new class of assets called DMT, right? The way things work on Bitcoin is you require these, you know, inscriptions that are on chain to be validated by indexers, right? In order to like provide an understanding of like what actually exists on Bitcoin, what does not, right?
Yeah, an indexer is essentially a way to aggregate the data and make that data accessible to developers.
Right.
And everything on the entire planet requires indexing. Everything.
Yeah, so Trac emerged as like one of the only real decentralized providers of this like indexing within the Bitcoin context of like Ordinals, BRC20, stuff like that. These are different flavors of essentially token protocols on the Bitcoin L1 chain, right?
Right.
So the utility of these Trac tokens itself is now, you know, you're voting on these different proposals. So this being, I think this is the first one,
This
right?
is the first one, yeah.
Yeah, so essentially this is how the ecosystems kind of govern moving forward. Like what project initiatives need like priority, right?
Yeah.
Which is what you would expect from like a decentralized, you know, entity, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So ultimately, the question is like, what is DMT NAT? So NAT is the first token in the DMT ecosystem. So DMT is not the drug; it is digital matter theory,
Yeah.
and this theory is basically a recognition of patterns within the Bitcoin blockchain being leveraged to generate tokens.
Right.
So what does that mean? That means that you can find a particular pattern within the Bitcoin block data, and if that pattern occurs in the subsequent block, that asset is generated again.
Mm-hmm.
So the first token that we launched on this DMT platform, which we designed, is the NAT token. And then pretty soon after that was this thing called NatCats.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably something that you've likely you've heard of.
Potentially heard, yeah.
Yeah. And so NatCats is an art project that is based off of Bitcoin block data.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has a non-arbitrary supply of 8,064. And if that pattern that the NatCats is based off of occurs again in future blocks, that means more NatCats are generated.
Yeah.
So this is unlike anything crypto has seen before. And
Yeah.
so that's why we call it digital matter theory, because it's based off the thermodynamic properties of Bitcoin. You cannot hack Bitcoin's data in the same way you can't modify the laws of physics.
Correct. So why do this at
Yeah.
all? That's probably like the first question entering people's minds if you're hearing this for the first time. It's like, why? Like, why can't I just go to my ERC20 token, smart contract and just like arbitrarily put 1 billion,
Yeah.
like all pumped up fund tokens do or whatever, right? It's just 1 billion tokens are generated every time we're deploying a new ticker, right?
Yeah.
Seems to be working just fine.
Yeah.
Handsomely, I would say.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
And so that has been our, the cryptocurrency's entire existence. Like, why
Yeah.
21 million? Why a billion for
Yeah.
these pumped out fund tokens? Like, why?
Yeah, I think it was like the sensible way to kind of like begin this whole like digital economy, right?
Right.
If you have nothing to really like pin or root the intrinsic properties to, like, Bitcoin being like the first cryptocurrency in this whole class of like digital assets, right? How could you have manifested Bitcoin rooted to anything of like intrinsic value without what Bitcoin has done, right? It's aggregated the strongest network effect, the biggest pool of like actual energy contribution.
Correct.
Because it had the right incentive structures, the right economic models, and it's fulfilling like ultimately a very desirable purpose as a cryptocurrency, right? It's to deal with the innate like issues, I guess, with the traditional finance monetary system, right? So it's got a good narrative, has the right economic structure. Therefore, it's like what, a true $2 trillion asset at this point?
Eventually, it's going to be 100 trillion.
Yeah, and the amount of energy consumption it takes to maintain that ledger, it's astronomically valuable.
Yeah, so the amount of energy is essentially, it consumes what 155 homes consumes in a month every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a lot of energy.
Yeah, so what does that do? It's given it like some very unique properties, like its immutable nature to it now. Like the data within it cannot be broken.
Correct.
So it's like, why not leverage that in our actual digital creation manifestation processes at this point to make things a little bit more non-arbitrary, to give them these intrinsic properties that is within Bitcoin and apply it to like, new assets.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what Nat demonstrated a little over a year ago. I think it was November of last year. Wait, no.
2023.
November of 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Is whenever Nat was deployed for the first time.
Yeah. So NAT leverages a piece of data called the bits field on Bitcoin. So if you go look at the block data for Bitcoin, you can go to blockchain.com and look at the individual blocks. There's a data field called bits. And so bits has an interesting property, right? When the hash power of Bitcoin goes up, the number of bits, the value of number of bits goes down.
Yeah, there's a nice little chart in one of these tweets here that kind of like, not that one. Well, actually, yeah, there's a chart.
Yeah, there's a chart here. Oh. So, for example, here is the orange line here is hash power, and the green one is the bits field numerical value. So as hash power goes up, the number of bits field goes down. And so that means that the more secure Bitcoin gets, the less number of NAT tokens gets issued into the ecosystem.
Correct.
Because remember, there's new NAT tokens per block that gets generated.
Yeah, so it's literally, just look at the string of the value of the bits field that is the number of tokens. That's what we mean by non-arbitrary, right? It's the token supply is being introduced and produced by Bitcoin itself, non-arbitrarily, right?
Mhm.
So that is like the novelty
Yeah.
of what DMT has introduced. But with this has come some newfound issues, right? There's the big one being there's a bot issue,
Mhm.
right? Where as these new blocks are being mined, some sort of collusion of forces is where like only a single entity is kind of like
Mhm.
acquiring these new tokens.
Yeah, so there's a bot that is essentially acquiring these new generally generated assets every 10 minutes. And so the proposal here is, if we go back to this, is like DMT rewards for Bitcoin miners. And so when we launched this token in November 20th, 2023, that means that you could own this token if you minted a block on Bitcoin. So blocks right now, there's 870,000 blocks. So that means that people had to own each of the blocks in order to own NAT tokens.
Correct.
And so that we called it a blockout. It occurred in 7 days.
Yeah, and at that time it was probably like what 750,000 blocks or something.
At the time, it was like 750, yeah, something like that.
So since then, basically over the course of a year, it's been what like another 100,000 blocks.
Something like that, yeah.
So essentially, the idea is if you allow this like bot issue to kind of like snowball forward without like redirecting
Mm-hmm.
these mints to in any new mechanism or direction, like you're going to run into a potential real issue down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the solution here?
Yeah.
Well, Bitcoin already has like an embedded reward mechanism, right? That's
Yeah.
contributing to sustaining the security of Bitcoin itself.
Yeah, they're fairly distributing Bitcoin, newly generated Bitcoin tokens to these entities.
Yeah, that's literally what proof of work is, right?
Yeah. And so we were like, okay, so we have a bot that's consuming all the latest NAT. So why don't we just redirect the NAT tokens to the miners?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, if you're mining and you happen to win the next block, you win Bitcoin and you win the second subsidy of Bitcoin, which is the NAT token.
Yeah. So what do you mean by second subsidy? Like, so why do miners need additional subsidies to begin with? Like,
Yeah.
isn't Bitcoin enough?
So, right. So right now, miners are incentivized to mine Bitcoin because they earn Bitcoin if they win the next block, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the narrative for Bitcoin is that it's like gold. So you essentially acquire gold and you kind of sit on it. And like, that's the point of gold.
Yeah. It'd be
Right.
like, yeah, of course. Like if I wanted real world gold, I'd have to like spend a lot of money to, I don't know, start a company, get all the right necessary equipment and dynamite maybe to like blow up a fucking mountain. I don't know how they
To
get
actually
gold.
mine gold. Yeah.
I assume that's what they're doing. They're just blowing mountains up. Dude. It's like, here's the gold,
Right.
right? But it's very difficult and very expensive to obtain. So like the same like economic model exists with Bitcoin, right? And
Yeah.
it's those big ass mining operations. There's some of them are like $200 million to set up,
It's
right?
true. Yeah.
They're very expensive, very costly, and
And you might not even find gold. You have to be very lucky.
for Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because you're competing against others
Yeah.
out there in the same race, essentially. So this is why Bitcoin's so successful. It was very well designed.
Yeah, and so now countries, the United States, they're acquiring Bitcoin for reserve, right?
Right.
For national reserves, right? States are doing the same thing. Cities are going to doing the same thing. Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy, they're acquiring Bitcoin to be on their bottom line.
Yeah.
And so they're buying, all these entities are buying Bitcoin to hold it, right? They are
Right.
not buying it to go and like sell it and use it.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? That means that they're not using Bitcoin to perform transactions. There's no transaction fees. And so eventually, once the Bitcoin mining reward ends, and everyone is holding Bitcoin and there's no velocity in Bitcoin, there's no transaction fees, no reason to mine Bitcoin anymore,
Except now there is.
except now. And so-
Bitcoin is NAT alone, right?
right.
That was a shirt we
Yeah.
were supposed to wear. Damn
Right.
it. So yeah, Bitcoin's NAT alone. If you keep wondering why we keep saying NAT instead of not, I mean, that's just how we talk nowadays, I guess.
Yeah.
So we're consumed by NAT speak.
NAT speak, right.
Yeah, but that's true, right? Miners, even though in today's context are unknowingly now, once this miner redirect is actually technically implemented,
Mm-hmm.
they're receiving a new subsidy reward for their efforts.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
the idea here is to capitalize on that and contribute to a very big problem, an impending dilemma that a lot of people are either not aware of or not talking about. It's this subsidy crisis, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, the idea, you hold Bitcoin, you're not trading it, no more fees, right? That's the end of the subsidy once it's over in 2140. But, 2140, that's a long time, guys. That's about 120, 115 years from now. It's like, who cares, right? Well, in the next halving, we're going from 3.125 to 1.6 something. And the number of Bitcoin being mined is so small.
Right.
And can we expect Bitcoin to always double, right? In this scenario, it's probably not.
Yeah.
And so this is becoming a bigger problem as we get, to more halving events. And so, so now NAT tokens are being redirected to the miners here pretty soon. And we have an article here that kind of breaks down basically everything that we said. That way you can kind of comprehend.
Yeah, if you want to really deep dive into this and kind of understand at a very fundamental level, this is the source to do that. But we're going to keep talking about NAT and its implications and the broader DMT ecosystem, of course, and marry this in with what's happening in the space with AI and all of that, right? Because we genuinely feel this is a very valuable contribution to the whole crypto landscape. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very underutilized at this moment because it's something that's brand new, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the broader market understands yet, why, generating a commodities engine out of the substrate layer of Bitcoin itself, why that presents a huge opportunity, specifically from our perspective for the metaverse, right? Because that has largely been our focus for the last 5 years.
Yeah,
we feel like this is a necessary component to actually having a real discoverable value layer
mm-hmm.
for the metaverse itself, right? Which is obviously struggling with many cold start issues, not just from a commodities perspective, but just an attention economy perspective as well, right?
Yeah. So one thing that we mentioned here in this video before, but NAT is the first token from the DMT ecosystem, and part of the explanation was the first kind of PFP project, the first art project using the DMT ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
But this is DMT underpins the metaverse on Bitcoin, right? Bitmap,
mm-hmm.
and people are creating these applications. They're creating content using DMT to deploy that content within the metaverse as well. And so this plays a huge role in the next segment or the next evolution of DMT is adding AI to it. Because now we have agents walking around in the metaverse and they're producing content. They're producing assets.
Yeah. Discovering patterns as well.
Yeah.
Because Bitcoin, it's an immense field of archaeological opportunity, right? To find these patterns and these existing properties, like we just kind of described, this whole Bitsfield property that produces this diminishing inflation rate over time.
Yeah. So
that's not something that was coded in a smart contract. That's part of Bitcoin.
That's right.
And it's being leveraged for the first time in this NAT token.
Yeah. So we call this a property of Bitcoin, kind of like mass is a property, or gravity is a property of mass. And so this is sort of like a natural result of how Bitcoin was designed. And so this reduction in NAT tokens based off the increase of hash power.
Right.
So in order to increase the hash power, they need to consume more energy, and consuming more energy means, having a higher cost of producing Bitcoin and producing blocks.
Right.
And so with that cost, if they're earning NAT tokens, they can pay for more compute, therefore increase the security, and you have a flywheel there.
So how's all this done? So it's broken down here in the DMT Git book, but also I think more importantly is to understand the technical frameworks that's enabling all this to happen. Right?
Yeah, so this is built on top of the Trac ecosystem with the TAP protocol. So TAP is an indexer on Bitcoin, and they are indexing the data from Bitcoin to make it accessible to the DMT framework and creators using DMT ecosystem to build out their PFP projects, all kinds of content for the metaverse, like avatars and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so here's the kind of like the GitHub for Trac.
Yeah, it's like a JSON, essentially instruction set, right? Inscriptions is like what the Ordinals protocol itself provides. That's how you're able to inject arbitrary information into the Bitcoin's blockchain, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you need to wrap a framework of like the instructions as an inscription, right? That's what TAP protocol provides.
Yeah. So think of this as a layer. So you have the Bitcoin layer, then you have the ordinal theory layer, right? Then you have the Trac and Tap ecosystem as the indexer of all this data, and then you have the DMT layer, and then you have creators using DMT to create things like NAT token and
the metaverse
and
art,
NatCats,
eventually maybe even a new species of AI potentially.
That's right.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So yeah, look out for AI in the context for DMT.
Yeah.
But yeah, all this is essentially built on Trac and Tap, and they have their own token. They have the Trac token, which is a BRC20, and then they have the Tap token, which is a Tap token, right? It's called Tap.
Yeah. So the idea here is, okay, so if indexing is so important, then in order for this NAT token to like really have sustainability and viability into as long as we need it to, right? Where if this is going to be an additional subsidy, we need it to increase in value significantly, right? The way Bitcoin has.
Yeah.
Because if it does not, then this is not going to help or contribute at all to like the sustainability of Bitcoin's security layer. So the goal here is to literally form a mission around this.
Yes.
Right? As what meme coins are for, right? The idea of a meme coin, something we've all collectively come to understand this cycle, is like build a mission around these token vehicles, right? Whether it's I fuck with very masculine strong men, therefore Giga is my movement, right?
Right.
Or I fuck with AI and the open source movement, AI 16Z and ELIZA is my movement, right?
Yeah.
I fuck with Bitcoin pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I want to see it thrive forever.
Yeah.
Right? Even when the emission gets cut off.
Correct.
Like 100 years from now, I'll be dead. I won't care.
Yeah.
But hopefully there'll be humans around, or
Yeah.
maybe just full AI. They're going to care that Bitcoin maintains, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I fuck with this mission. I want to see this NAT token in like the fucking trillions of dollars of value, just like Bitcoin is, to make sure that happens, right?
Dude, $1 trillion is accurate because right now the opportunity, the market cap of NAT is about 8 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally a baby, but with like such astronomical implications. So yeah, like the sustainability of Trac and its decentralized efforts to distribute these validators, just to make sure that that network stays forever lasting as long as Bitcoin's network does.
Yeah.
Is also crucial, right?
Yeah. So speaking of crucial, right, in order to get this to
let's start with something a little more realistic, maybe not multi-trillions.
Yeah. Yeah, in order to get to $1 trillion market cap. It needs access, right? It needs access to human capital, just access points. And so the way you do that typically in crypto is through exchanges. And so we need to get this token on exchanges. And so with this tweet announcement, we're going to outline a bunch of addresses that you can contribute to. You can buy the Natrix parcels. And so this will essentially fund getting the NAT token listed to exchanges. And when
some sick merch.
Yeah, and some sick merch as well.
Coming soon.
Yeah. and ultimately it's like all these exchanges require briefcases full of cash.
That is.
And like that's how the industry works, right? And that's how it is. And so we need to deliver these briefcases so that NAT token gets access liquidity.
Right.
And so now people can actually onboard into the ecosystem and really push this thing to where it needs to be in order to support Bitcoin.
Correct. So also the beautiful thing about the TAP protocol is it's access to other chains. So we can actually supply liquidity in decentralized exchange protocols as well.
Yeah.
For this token to have more access and exposure to those markets, market environments. So that's where we're at. That's the stage. Once we get past this this vote, which it looks like we're on our way.
Yeah.
And then probably like a week or two from then, hopefully, like the actual official miner redirection will occur.
That's right.
And that's it, dude. We've made history, I feel like. I can die happy man that I don't think we could ever contribute anything greater than this to like Bitcoin.
I agree.
This is the best we could do.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think giving Bitcoin a new subsidy It's a good goal.
Yeah.
It's a good achievement, good milestone, right? I feel a little bit better about myself.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, and so it's like, okay, so where do I acquire such assets? Like on this website, NatGMI, so Nat gonna make it.
Yeah.
.com is gonna take you to here where to buy. So Taproot Swap, which is from the Trac ecosystem, that's a DEX on Bitcoin. You can get it there. SuperX, Ordinals Wallet, and SatX.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, then hopefully. If this thing works and people contribute to getting this NAT token listed, there's going to be a ton more exchanges down here that we'll add.
Yeah, so we're already in talks with some of these exchanges, right?
Yeah.
It's just like you're saying, we got to meet the capital requirements essentially to get this token listed and kind of get the momentum going, right? Because this is our mission for the year, probably for the rest of our lives, actually.
Yeah.
Is to like not only get NAT like
to $1 trillion.
Yeah. Start with $1 billion. That would be nice. That would be like a nice. We did it.
Thumbs up, yeah.
Yeah. But to also expand awareness of the DMT ecosystem in general, right? We feel like NAT will be that Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Where people will understand. Like it's actually, the crypto ecosystem is actually way more interesting when it's manifested non-arbitrarily.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So like if it works for NAT, it should work for art, it should work for the metaverse, it should work for maybe DeFi, every little scalable vertical of Web3.
Yeah.
So that is the mission we're all collectively on, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked about a lot of today with thermodynamics and Bitcoin and this new subsidy tokens. Like there's a lot of substance here. And if you want to learn more, we definitely have talked about the NAT token in the past, in the context of Ordinals and Bitmap. And
yeah, we've been meaning to do
UNATs.
like a DMT series, maybe like a 3-part series. So we have one for Ordinals. If you want to understand Ordinals better, look through our channel, Intro to Ordinals. It's a 3-part series. Kind of sums up what it is and what it's producing. So we'll do the DMT subsequent series of that for you guys.
Yeah.
If you want to know more.
Yeah. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comment section below and join our Discord. That's where the conversation for the NAT token and Ordinals and Bitmap and DMT and AI, right, is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.